Hey, my creative friends. My name is Shannon from shannonstudio.com, and we talk about having a creative life and the things that go into making space for a creative life. Life can be full of all kinds of things, and sometimes creativity is not the first thing on our list that we think, oh, I need to be creative today. But because of the benefits of creativity, it's very worth taking the effort and the time to arrange our lives so that we can include it. Hey, Trisha. Are you at church today right now, Trisha? I've been to church today. Today's Sunday, and so on Sundays we talk about creativity and a spiritual side or a spiritual aspect of creativity and kind of tie those two things together. And today is what we call Fast Sunday. I belong to the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And every first Sunday of the month, we have what is called a fast and testimony meeting. So that means that we fast for 24 hours prior to the meeting that we go to. And then when we go to the church meeting on that particular day, we have where people can come up to the stand. The congregations, members of the congregations who feel so moved can go up and testify, witness, tell their experience with how they've grown close to God. And so today was testimony meeting. And so different people got up, and as I'm listening to the people, I am thinking, because I've been listening to some videos, and the videos talk about how strong and powerful our mind is to control our bodies and our reality. And I think I have talked about a video previously about how our minds can even help heal ourselves or even cause sicknesses in ourselves. So I was sitting in there thinking about that. And also I guess there's I looked at a Netflix video, Heal, last night, Heal. And so it was on my mind when I went to church this morning about how our mind is so powerful that it can do things. So as I'm sitting there listening, I'm thinking, you know what? A lot of people who are non-believers would say, oh, they're just making it up. Oh, they've talked themselves into it. Oh, this is a figment of their imagination, which you have to kind of go, maybe they have something. I mean, because that idea that we can create things in our lives because of the power of our minds in ourselves, and that story that we tell ourselves, I could totally see why people would say that. And so it made me think, well, why do I feel like that's not the case for me? And as I was thinking through this, I thought, yeah, somebody could say I've just made this all up and I've made this happen, but part of it is that as I'm sitting there thinking, I was thinking how I've had so many experiences that have shown to me a power of God outside of myself. So if the prayers I said during the week that Layla was dying, them being specifically answered through somebody else who doesn't know me, who, it's just, and that happened, so it has happened so many times. Or somebody feeling me, praying about the idea that I would like some help with my business, and that I'm not, quite ready to hire anybody or something like that, but I could just use some help. And then somebody calling me up within the week saying they want to come over and help. They want to do it for free. They have all kinds of free time, so whatever they want, that I want them to do. So then there's experiences that are outside of me that I don't control. I don't control other people. So, well, except for my kids, I don't control other people. So, really, and I don't control my kids, no. Besides, it's outside of what's happening that I have say over. And so yes, there's experiences that I have personally that somebody could dismiss, but I can't dismiss them. And then I particularly can't dismiss the answers to prayers or the intervention of other people, because they've used their stewardship, their abilities, their talents to be able to do something, and they're not even really realizing they're answering a prayer of mine. So it's so interesting, and I just really feel like that we sometimes dismiss that outside force, those outside forces that affect us. And that's part of our creative process too, that we have an external, and I call it the spirit, the external inspiration that is beyond myself. So to me, I feel like it's a collaboration with deity, that we have creative, and it doesn't work out. All ideas that are not worked out that way for me. There are some ideas that I can clearly see where I got from point A to point Z. I can follow back the steps to see where they came from. But then there's other times that I'm like, where did that idea come from? And I'll read a quote later on from Elizabeth Gilbert that kind of says that same thing. But I wanted to talk a little bit first about this artist, Mark Rothko. I'm not sure how to say his last name. Rothko, and he has these paintings that are monumental, that they are just color blocks, and that he places color blocks next to each other and just create. That's his body of work. And it says that in the Time magazine, The Science of Creativity, it says, the blocks vibrate and resonate against the surrounding area, so the surrounding colors with it. The monumental canvases overwhelm and completely envelop the viewer. I've never seen one in person, but when I've seen large enough paintings that and especially when we've been to Paris recently, that they're huge. They do overwhelm you. So I'm not sure how big his are, but from this, it sounds like that sort of thing. So the monumental canvases overwhelm and completely envelop the viewer. His paintings express basic human emotions, tragedy, ecstasy, and doom. Viewers often describe feelings something close to the deep spiritual experience Rothko claimed to have had while painting them. So he is saying, this article is saying how he says he has these experiences when he's painting, and then that resonates with people who see the paintings, and they have these experiences in response to his paintings. And I like that that effect that we can have, and how we can be affected by the spirit of a thing. By the spirit, I think there's a spirit with a capital S, and then there's a spirit with a little s. And that's how I explain things sometimes to my kids. It's something with a S and a small s. So there is a spirit with a capital S that is a testifier of truth, a testifier of the truthfulness of Jesus Christ. Then there's a spirit, I think, that we all have spirits, and then, more smaller s. And then I think sometimes the culmination or the collaboration carries a spirit with it. So Elizabeth Gilbert was talking in her book, Big Magic, and she says that most of the writing that she does is really just work. It's unglamorous. It's just sit down, do the work. But she says, and I'll read some of this, that sometimes when she's in the midst of writing, she suddenly feels something different. She says, I can feel myself being gently propelled by some exterior force. Something is carrying me along, something powerful and generous. And that something is decidedly not me. And so I think if you've created anything for any length of time, you probably have had this experience. And she says, you may know this feeling. It's the feeling you get when you've made something wonderful or done something wonderful. And when you look back at it later, all you can say is, I don't even know where that came from. And that is exactly the feelings that I get sometimes when I look at something and I go, how did I do that? And again, I think it's that collaboration with the spirit, with the capital S spirit. Our little s spirit with the capital S spirit. And there is something that goes on in that process. And I don't think this, one of my teachers when I was going back to school, as an adult, as a mom of 8, when I went back to school, crazy, that's a whole nother story. But one of the instructors said that the spirit doesn't, what did he say? The spirit doesn't ignore the individual in the creative process. So it's not like the Spirit comes in and just decidedly walks all over the top of you and decides exactly what's going to happen. But it's a force that comes into our lives, and we work with it, and it works with us. So she goes on to say, let's see. It feels as if you were being guided. I only rarely experience this feeling, but it's the most magnificent sensation imaginable when it arrives. And for me, even outside of being creative, I have felt the Spirit, and the Spirit is this feeling of goodness, of happiness, of love, of you are left better. You are left feeling better. Let's see, what else does she say? She says, in ancient Greek, the word for the highest degree of human happiness is eudaimonia. I know, let me say that again. Eudaimonia. Eudaimonia, which basically means well-demoned. And let me just stop right there, because I say demon and everybody's like, oh, demon, as the Latin word for this, is evil. It means an evil deity, but the Greek word is it means a god, a subordinate god, a subordinate deity, a person's attendant spirit. So it depends on where you're getting your words from, what it means. So she's saying, which she's taking it from the Greek, means well-demon, that is nicely taken care of by some external divine creative spirit guide. So she's taking it from the Greek side, saying that you are well cared for by your external divine creative spirit guide. And she goes on to say, but the Greeks and the Romans both believed that the idea of an external demon of creativity, a sort of house elf, made me think of the elf on a shelf. But the Romans had a specific term for this helpful house elf. They called it your genius, your guardian deity, the conduit of your inspiration. And the Romans didn't believe that an exceptionally gifted person was a genius. They believed that an exceptionally gifted person had a genius. And then she goes on, and this is such a great idea, and she talks quite a bit on this, and how it plays on our own sensibilities. And I think that there's something to that. Maybe I'm not thinking the same thing she is, because I'm taking it from a spiritual aspect, and I think the genius that we have is the Spirit of God, and that it affects us. And when we live a certain way, we invite that Spirit to affect and touch our lives. So the idea for tonight, the tip for tonight, is to use that creative collaboration with deity, with the Spirit. Recognize it, use it. When it comes to you, invite it openly to be our participant. I mean, because not everything we do is touched by the Spirit. Don't believe that. But there are important things in our lives that can be, and that we can live in a way that we are a better person, so that we invite those better things. Sometimes I think we make spirituality a lot harder than what it is. And I think because it is a little bit more abstract, a little bit intangible, so we sometimes try to make more of it is. And I think it's just living a good life, believing in Jesus Christ, and doing good things. But that's the tip. Have a creative collaboration with deity. And I think that's on my notes. So if you have thoughts about this, because I'm sure that there are people who have different thoughts than I do, and but your thoughts might be similar too. So let me know what you think about this idea, and if you've ever felt any kind of external inspiration when you've created anything, and you've had an experience like that. So remember, you have a creative heartbeat, so listen for it, and I will be back tomorrow. Bye.